Light that spark, Fire Nation. JLD here, and welcome to Entrepreneurs on Fire, brought to you by the Hubspot Podcast Network with great shows like Duct Tape Marketing. Today, we're pulling a timeless EO Fire classic episode from the archives, which means some of the resources may no longer be available, and we'll be breaking down how to bulletproof your business. To drop these value bombs, I have brought Brian Liu into EO Fire Studios. Brian is the founder and CEO of Biz Counsel, a revolutionary platform that is changing the way business owners access lawyers. He is the founder and former chairman and CEO of LegalZoom. And today, Fire Nation, we'll talk about making your business stable and successful first before thinking about protecting it. We're talking about finding the right experts at the right price for your business. And a big thank you to today's sponsors and Brian for sponsoring today's episode. Is this your year? Visit thrivetimeshow.com/EOFire to see how Clay Clark's business coaching helps thousands of entrepreneurs to dramatically increase profitability. It's month to month and less money than hiring an average minimum wage employee. Schedule your free consultation today at thrivetimeshow.com/EOFire. Success Story, hosted by Scott D. Clary, is brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network and features Q&A sessions plus convos on sales, marketing, business, and more. A recent ep on how to protect your business in times of crisis is a must listen. Listen to Success Story wherever you get your podcasts. Brian, say what's up to Fire Nation and share something interesting about yourself that most people don't know.
Hey, Fire Nation, what's going on? Brian Liu here, and I'll tell you something most people don't know about me. Most people who know a little bit about my background know that I'm the founder of LegalZoom, started that 20 years ago, but I actually got my entrepreneurial start thanks to a fortune teller.
What?
That's one thing most people don't know.
Very interesting. Now, I don't want to dive too deep into this, but what exactly did the fortune teller say, pray tell?
Look, at the time I was in college, like many people probably, I had no idea what my major was going to be, no idea what I was going to do afterwards. I was kind of a lost soul. So I was with my cousin, went into a park. There was this fortune teller who had tarot cards. And so I thought, boy, what better? I'm not going to ask about my love life, John. I was just going to ask about what am I going to do when I grow up? So at the time I was thinking medical school. I was in pre-med classes, and whether it was through the power of suggestion, whether it's self-fulfilling prophecy, or hey, maybe it's just fate, that fortune teller said, you are going to be a business owner and an entrepreneur and a successful one. And I'm like, wow, I hope it's fate, but maybe it's just the power of suggestion.
Well, no matter what happened, Brian, you are a self-fulfilling prophecy, my friends in Fire Nation. As I mentioned in the intro, Brian's the founder and CEO of Biz Counsel. And as you know, that's a revolutionary platform that's changing the way business owners access lawyers. And he's the founder and former chairman and CEO of LegalZoom, which has sponsored hundreds and hundreds of past Entrepreneurs on Fire episodes, Fire Nation. So I'm sure you are well aware of their great services. So obviously what we're talking about today, Brian, is bulletproofing our businesses. But the reality is, and I get this question a lot from my listeners, so I'm glad I have you, an expert, to talk about it. At what point should a business owner think about protecting what they've built?
A lot of lawyers will go and say, well, you've got to really think about this from the beginning. You've got to do everything right. You've got to bulletproof the business from the start. But I've got a different take at this, which is at the start, a good entrepreneur, you're not focused on anything other than growing your business. You've got to put, butts in seats. You've got to increase sales. You've got to increase revenues. You've got to make that business successful. And that's all a business owner should care about. But once the business is stable, once you're not worried about making payroll, then that's when you have to start thinking about protection, because now you've got something to protect, you've got something to lose. You actually have built something. So I think don't think about it at the start. Just wait until you get to that point where you feel like you're stable.
So I'm really glad you shared this, Brian, because I could not agree more. As somebody who's been running Entrepreneurs on Fire now for 7 years, I have my audience reach out to me and they're like, John, I'm going to launch my business next month. But I mean, first I'm working on getting my trademarks done. Then I've got to get these patents approved. Then I'm going to incorporate and I'm going to do this and that. And I'm like, wait a second. You haven't even proved the concepts of your business first. You don't even know if there's people out there that want what you're producing. I mean, guess what? I know, Fire Nation, that we're big fans of our own ideas. I get it. But until you actually have proof of concepts, listen, get out there and prove that concept. That's why that minimally viable product is such a good concept, because you need to know that it's going to work. Then once it starts working, yes, then invest in yourself and protect that business. Now, when do most business owners actually get around to doing something about protecting what they've built?
They should start worrying about it once they've got something to protect. But here's the old adage, and it's kind of true, which is, you've made it when you're actually getting sued.
Totally.
And so unfortunately, most people wait a little bit too long. Now, hopefully it's just a threat and maybe it's a scare, but if it's a full-blown lawsuit that you're getting into, it's a little too late. You want to definitely start taking steps to bulletproof that business beforehand. The thing is, these legal disputes and things like that, they are an absolute drain. I mean, they are just an absolute drain of the life force out of you and your business when that happens. I mean, I remember my first lawsuit, John. I mean, and it happened about a year when I was into it. We were starting to do really well, and we knew that we could survive a lot of things, but I didn't know how much absolutely this lawsuit just took out of us. It was a trademark dispute, and it was something simple that I could have, probably dealt with at the beginning, but we didn't have a lot of extra money. And even though I was a lawyer, I was a business lawyer, I didn't know much about intellectual property. And we just thought, we just let it go. And it ended up being it ended up costing $250,000
Whoa.
just to get rid of it. We didn't have that type of money, but I took it so personally, because it was like, you've raised this kid, the business is your baby, and now it's not quite an adult. Maybe it's 12 years old, it's almost reaching adolescence and starting to, become its own. And then somebody's going out and robbing the kid. It felt like somebody was robbing my kid. And of course, I got emotional. I got personal. And it took maybe half of my working hours was just spent on stewing over this for a whole year. And that and the price. I mean, the fact that you lost focus for a whole year, that's what almost destroyed it.
I mean, Fire Nation, you don't know where these attacks could come from. I mean, to tell a story that I haven't talked about publicly very often, just because it brings up some pretty bad memories, but within a month of launching Entrepreneur on Fire, I was sent a cease and desist from Entrepreneur magazine. They go after every company that has the word entrepreneur in their name. And I'm going to tell you right now, Brian, I was A, terrified, and B, I'm really disappointed that Biz Counsel didn't exist back then, because that would have been such a easy way to get some great legal counsel at such a reasonable price. But guess what? I had to go and find a fairly high-priced lawyer that, I had to rush into getting into a relationship with, and it was costly, and it was a lot of back and forth. And, this is at the beginning of my podcasting journey. And, podcasts don't make money at the beginning. It takes a long time to build up that platform where your podcast is actually generating revenue. So this was going into my personal savings, and it was a really, really tough time. So Fire Nation, you don't know where or when it's going to come from. Like we said in the first point here, listen, you need to just get your stuff out there and prove the concept first, but then don't be that person that waits too long once your business is getting traction. Because you know why Entrepreneur Magazine reached out to me? Because guess what? My podcast was awarded Best of iTunes that year. My podcast was the number 4 business podcast of the entire, it was getting a ton of traction, and that's when it came across their site, and that's where they approach me. So that's when you need to make sure you're doing something about it when you are getting that traction. So what is the best way to protect ourselves from personal liability, Brian?
You form an LLC or you incorporate, and that's really, the way you bulletproof your personal assets. And just so that people understand why it works that way. Let's just say you've got $1 million in business and your business assets. You've done pretty well, and for whatever terrible reason, you've gotten a $2 million judgment against your business, and so that extra million you would have to pay for on your own. You sell your house, sell your car, sell everything that you have, and if you didn't have enough to cover it, well, back in the old days, that's why they had debtors' prisons. That's what happened there. Luckily, they don't have those anymore. But an LLC protects you so that you're only limited in terms of the business assets, in terms of what they can go after, and they can't go after you personally, whether it's incorporated, and that's what everybody does these days. It's nice to have it, and it's important, but also you've got to have the right type of insurance. I've learned a lot actually about insurance and how it works lately, and I have to tell you, that's definitely more important, I think, than even having that LLC or incorporation. That I think adds the LLC incorporation, obviously very important, and adds credibility, but insurance is what protects you. It covers you not just against losses, but most importantly, they're there to defend you. Because the legal part, the legal defense, wow, that's expensive.
That's expensive. I'm speaking from firsthand experience. And Fire Nation realized that these LLCs, these were created to spur business, to spur entrepreneurs, because they realized that people weren't taking any risks because they didn't want to go to debtor's prison for 50, 100 years. They realized it. But now you have an opportunity to say, you know what, I am going to take this risk. And I'm obviously, when I fail, it's going to stink and all this stuff. I might have to go through bankruptcy or whatever. But, at least I am personally protected. So now people have gone out, taken great risks, and look at all the amazing things that have happened as a result. So this is, to protect you purposely. So use them in the manner they're meant to be used. And, obviously, Fire Nation, if you listen to the beginning part of this episode, you've recognized that Biz Counsel, which, the founder I'm speaking to right now of, is a current sponsor of Entrepreneurs on Fire. And I really meant it when I said it just a couple of minutes ago. Holy crap, do I wish that this service existed back in 2012. Because it's literally mind-blowing. For $89 a month, you get a dedicated attorney you can talk to at any time. $89 a month, Fire Nation. Let me tell you, I blew through 10x that in 2 conversations with my lawyer over the course of a month. It was unbelievable. So this is the kind of thing you need to be thinking about to protect yourself. We're talking less than $100 a month. You have a dedicated attorney that knows you, that knows your business. They're dedicated to you. So you're not just trying to rush out and recreate the wheel. So, you're going to hear it even more in detail, during our longer sponsorship during the break. But let me tell you, it's bizcounsel.com/fire. Head over there, check out more about what this service is providing, because it is absolutely amazing to be able to protect yourself at this level for $89 a month. So Brian, how often do experienced business owners face legal issues in your experience?
What we've seen, John, is that about 50% of small business owners, they face a serious legal issue every year. And that's obviously they all not become full-blown, litigated cases, but there's something serious. And if they do become serious and they become litigated, then it's going to get expensive, as I said before. It's average cost of litigating a contract dispute or employment case right now is about $90,000.
That's brutal. In Fire Nation, It's not so much if, it's when. And this isn't meant to scare you. This isn't scare tactics. It's just a reality of actually being successful in the business world. We always say online, you're not really an influencer or an authority figure until you get haters. Until you get people that literally are bashing you, who are really showing venom at what you're saying. You haven't really made it yet. That's literally what it takes to recognize that, hey, I've become a target because you know what? I'm making a real impact in this world. And hey, when your business is having massive success, you're going to become a target, just like Entrepreneur on Fire was back in 2012. to Entrepreneur Magazine. So think about that. And as I promised, we are going to take a quick break. You're going to hear more about the amazing services of a Biz Counsel. And we got some cool things coming up, Fire Nation. We're going to talk about the 3 most common legal issues that are faced by business owners so that you can be prepared when we get back from thanking our sponsors. Hey, Fire Nation, can I get your attention real quick? I know that you have a lot in your mind right now, or always, but one thing you shouldn't have to worry about: payroll. That's right. Thanks to Roll by ADP, the first chat-based mobile payroll app made for small businesses, payroll is now stress-free. Roll lets you effortlessly manage your payroll and taxes directly from your smartphone. It only takes a few swipes and taps. That's all. It really is that easy. So all the time you have blocked out on your calendar for payroll, well, use that for you time. A bit more about Roll. It gives you the power to run payroll when you want, where you want. You can also pay who you want, full-time, part-time, and even seasonal employees across all 50 states. Roll even automatically files local, state, and federal taxes for you. Ready for a lot less stress in your life? Roll by ADP is offering our listeners 3 free months of unlimited payroll processing. That's right, 3 free months. Visit rollbyadp.com/fire to redeem your offer. Terms and conditions apply. Are you ready to grow your business now? What if you could learn the proven systems and processes that have been used to grow thousands of multi-million-dollar success stories? At thrivetimeshow.com/eofire, see how Clay Clark's proven business coaching has helped thousands of entrepreneurs to increase profitability dramatically. Clay's proven business coaching program is month to month and less money than hiring an average minimum wage employee. Sound too good to be true? Go to thrivetimeshow.com/eofire to see thousands of documented success stories. Because Clay only takes on 160 clients, he personally designs your business plan for you. Then Clay's team of talented designers, videographers, web developers, workflow mappers, and accounting coaches will help you implement that proven plan. See thousands of verified success stories and schedule your free 101 13-point assessment with Mr. Clay Clark himself today at thrivetimeshow.com/eofire. Knowledge will not attract money unless it is organized and directed through practical plans of action. Get your proven plan and schedule your free 13-point assessment today at thrivetimeshow.com/eofire. One massive thing I see holding entrepreneurs back when it comes to scaling their ventures: technology. We love it and we need it, but technology can be clunky, costly, hard to implement, and frankly, overwhelming. So as you grow and scale your business, it's important to have platforms that work for you and your team, not against you. Because slowing down your ability to do what's most important, connecting with your customers, is not an option. That's why there's Hubspot CRM Platform. With Hubspot CRM Platform, all of your tools and data are on one easy-to-use, powerful platform, giving you and your team a single source of truth for all of your data, reporting, and marketing campaigns. And this means your teams are empowered to have deeper and more meaningful conversations with your customers because they have everything they need at their fingertips. HubSpot CRM Platform is crafted for connected customer growth. It's a connected customer platform that provides more than just software and helps you create deeper, more meaningful relationships with your customers. Learn how HubSpot can help your business grow better at HubSpot.com. So Brian, we're back, and as I teased before the break, we're going to talk about the 3 most common legal issues faced by business owners. Break those down for us, brother.
Employment disputes are all in the news, and they are huge, and that's definitely number 1 on the list. Whether it's wrongful termination claims, whether it's a claim about unpaid overtime, unpaid leave, and there's all these new rules about who's an employee, who's an independent contractor. That's definitely number 1. And the thing about this, employment disputes, and there's so many new laws about what you can and can't do when hiring and firing. Employers are held to strict liability when it comes to this. And it doesn't even matter if you have, 5 employees or 500. You're strictly liable for these, which means ignorance is not an excuse. And also, if you didn't know what one of your employees was doing and maybe doing something he or she shouldn't have, that comes back to you as the business owner, as their direct manager. So again, that's a big area of liability. Plaintiffs' attorneys love that area. Fastest growing part of the plaintiffs' bar, to tell you the truth. Number 1. Number two, contract disputes. Not surprising. There's so many different types of contract disputes. Somebody's not going to pay. Somebody says that this meant something else. Number three, partnership disputes. And not something that a lot of people think about when they're starting out, but I've been around the block a few times, unfortunately, where I've seen that happen. And it's not to say that the business was, doing badly. It's maybe sometimes the business is doing too good and there's a partnership dispute. I was just reminded, I was watching the Social Network the other day, and I was talking about how one of the original co-founders was kicked out and how that turned into a huge litigated case.
Big time.
Yeah. So things like that happen a lot more often than you think.
Fire Nation, employment disputes, number one. Contract disputes, number two. And partnership disputes, number three. And think about that. These are all things you can and should be preparing for so that you can be prepared. And just one quick thing I want to say about partnerships. I love big ships, Fire Nation. I love small ships. I love black ships and white ships and purple ships. I'm not a big fan of partnerships. I've never been a big fan of partnerships, Fire Nation. So please think twice before you find yourself in an unhealthy partnership. So how can we just avoid these legal problems in the first place, Brian?
What's more important than bulletproofing your business is avoiding this. You need to be more than Kevlar. You need to be like the Matrix and just avoid these bullets in the first place. So a lot of people go online to get answers. They try to find and do as much research as they can. But look, nothing is better than having an experienced professional, an experienced attorney that you can trust, who can really help you guide through these problems and nip these issues at the bud before they become, complete nightmares.
Can you maybe just give us one example of a time that you've had a client or maybe somebody that uses Biz Counsel actually avoid a legal problem that could have actually blown up and just been a massive disaster for their business?
Absolutely. One person was talking about how they felt like one of their former contractors, a sales contractor, was about to get into a lawsuit because she had been terminated, but started asking questions and started getting requests from her about wanting this information, wanting that. So called us up and said, hey, I think we might have a problem here. I think that they're trying to dig for some more information. What should I do? And so I know we reached out and hooked this person up with a client. I'm with an attorney. I can't use any names
Sure,
because it's all protected and stuff like that. But basically, got to speak to an employment attorney, and the employment attorney suggested a course of action that would, prevent this from turning into a bigger issue, because essentially, reached out and proactively set out a course of facts and said, okay, made a case for why things were the way they were. Instead of just reacting, actually was proactive and said, okay, you did this, essentially laid out the plan and said, why were you terminated? Because you didn't reach these performance goals. You said you wanted this, and we said you were supposed to attain that, you didn't do it. And basically wrote a correspondence, wrote a letter back to her that laid out all the empirical data of why she was terminated, so that when she probably went back to her lawyer, plaintiff's attorney, who was probably working on the case, probably saw that letter laid out and then decided to drop the case because realized that it wasn't going to be worth that lawyer's time to pursue it because there was nothing there.
Fire Nation, a little upfront work can save you a lot of back-end pain. And now we need to be honest, Brian, there is some upfront cost to protecting yourself. Why is the cost of protection worth it?
Yeah, I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it if the price is right. That's the truth. Because traditionally, look, lawyers are charging, $300 an hour. Cost to retain one's often about $5,000 a month. And a lot of business owners just aren't going to want to spend that kind of money. And so they become reactionary and they wait until something bad happens, and then they have no choice. So, at Biz Counsel, what we're trying to do is turn the whole economics around and turn that whole antiquated business model that lawyers have on its head. So we've created this lawyers by subscription service, as you mentioned, where you can get your own dedicated business attorney from $69 a month. And obviously that's so much better than paying by the hour or paying a huge retainer. And the way we're able to do it, there's a couple of things we've done is, again, we've changed the business model for lawyers so that instead of spending most of their time drumming up business and doing non-legal work, we've managed to increase their efficiency by 5x. So they're able to do so much more work and get more work done for the same amount of time. A recent study came out by Clio, and they said the average lawyer in private practice, if you can believe it, spends less than 20% of their time on actual paid legal work.
Wow.
And that's the reason, John, that they're averaging over $300 an hour.
Right.
Because you've got to pay for essentially their 6.5 hours a day that they're not doing real work and they're not getting paid.
I mean, Fire Nation, I think we need to hire or at least encourage Brian to next go into the political game and figure out a way that politicians, instead of just spending all of their time campaigning and none of their time changing the world, to actually spend all of their time trying to actually impact and change the world. What do you say, Brian? You up for that?
I'm up for it.
All right, brother, bring us home. I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but I just got this big inspiration about how, man, these lawyers, they're now going from never working on actual legal work to now just being able to sit down and do the stuff that they're trained and educated to do. So, I mean, that's so impactful. Take that home.
Honestly, that's what the lawyers are most happy doing, legal work. They don't like to do accounting work. They certainly don't like to do marketing and advertising and, going to different clubs and trying to drum up business. So we put them in a position where they are most happy and they're most likely to succeed. So if you want to check it out, go to bizcounsel.com/fire. And you can try your first month of BizCounsel for free. And when you're a BizCounsel member, you don't pay by the hour when you're talking to an attorney. So you should never be afraid to just pick up the phone and talk to an attorney, whether it's about any issue, whether you need to get a contract reviewed. We can handle all that. That's all part of the membership, and it's covered by the monthly fee. So go to bizcounsel.com/fire and check it out.
That's BIZ, Fire Nation, bizcounsel.com/fire. And Brian, you've shared a lot of awesomeness with us today, a lot of value bombs about, just the power of protecting ourselves, protecting our business, protecting our babies. I mean, that's what we're doing here, Fire Nation. That's such an important step in the process. If you could just have one thing that Fire Nation would walk away from everything we've talked about today, what would that one thing be?
I think the main thing, John, is that, look, smart business owners, they do things in a smart way. You get insurance because you want to protect yourself. You hire an accountant or hire a bookkeeper because you don't want to spend all of your time doing that work. Smart entrepreneurs and smart business owners are focused. They are working on building their business, and you don't want to be distracted, and you shouldn't, worry about little things, and you shouldn't want to spend 10 hours of your time researching a legal issue, just to save a little bit of money when you can have an expert do it at a good price. So, be smart with your business and hire experts to do things that they're good at. And especially if the price is right, if it makes sense, that's what I think makes the most sense. And that's just my business tip. And it's not just for lawyers, it's for everything.
Fire Nation, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and you have been hanging out with BL and JLD today. So keep up the heat and head over to eofire.com. If you type Brian in the search bar, the show notes page will pop up with everything we've been talking about today. These are the best show notes in the biz, links to everything. And Brian, thank you for sharing your knowledge with Fire Nation today. For that, we salute you, and we'll catch you on the flip side.
Thank you.
Hey, Fire Nation. Today's value bomb content was brought to you by Brian, and I've created a treasure trove of free courses for you, Fire Nation. I teach how to podcast, how to run a mastermind, how to create funnels that convert, and so much more. All you need to do is visit eofire.com/resources and start learning today. I'll catch you there, or I'll catch you on the flippity flip side. Is this your year? Visit thrivetimeshow.com/eofire to see how Clay Clark's business coaching helps thousands of entrepreneurs to dramatically increase profitability. It's month to month and less money than hiring an average minimum wage employee. Schedule your free consultation today at thrivetimeshow.com/eofire. Success Story, hosted by Scott D. Clary, is brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network and features Q&A sessions plus convos on sales, marketing, business, and more. A recent ep on how to protect your business in times of crisis is a must listen. Listen to Success Story wherever you get your podcasts.